I still haven't forgotten about that blueberry bagel you took from the break room back in 2014, Michelle.
Oh my goodness, are we really bringing that up again? It was sitting there for hours, Chris. I thought it was public property.
It had my name on the bag in tiny, tiny letters, but hey, I guess I'll find a way to move past the trauma eventually.
Well, I'm glad you're open to the idea of moving on because honestly, that's exactly what we're diving into today. Hi, everyone. I'm Michelle, and I'm so happy you're joining us for this conversation.
And I'm Chris, and since I'm clearly a very big person, we're talking about why forgiveness changes you. And no, it's not just about bagels.
It's one of those things that sounds simple on paper, but feels like climbing a mountain in real life, doesn't it?
Totally. But maybe today we can just sit back, listen to the flow of the ideas, and see if any of this sticks to the ribs a bit.
I love that. Just letting the words wash over you. You know, Chris, I was reading this study about how people who hold a grudge actually have higher blood pressure and more stress hormones.
Wait, so you're telling me my bagel anger is actually making my heart work harder?
Exactly. When you hold a grudge, you're essentially keeping a fire burning inside yourself because you're waiting for the other person to get burned by the smoke.
Man, that's a heavy way to put it. I always thought staying mad was like a shield, like if I'm mad, you can't hurt me again.
I think we all feel that way sometimes, like our anger is a form of protection.
But it's exhausting, isn't it? I remember I didn't talk to my cousin for like 2 years over some stupid argument about a car.
2 years is a long time for a car argument, Chris. What happened?
Honestly, I don't even remember the details anymore, but I remember the resentment every time I saw his name on my phone.
That's the thing about resentment. It's this deep, bitter feeling of being treated unfairly that just grows and grows if you don't address it.
It's like a weed in the garden of your brain.
It really is. You think you're just being right, but really you're just feeding that negative energy.
So, how do you even start to let that go? Because it's not like a light switch you can just flip.
No, it's definitely a process, and a slow one at that. For me, the hardest part is the way I tend to dwell on things.
Oh, I've seen you do that. You'll talk about a polite email someone sent you for 3 days straight.
Stop it. But you're right, I do. To dwell on something means to keep thinking or talking about it far longer than is healthy or necessary.
Like when I dwell on why the supermarket changed the layout of the aisles.
Exactly. Except with forgiveness, we dwell on the hurt. We replay the scene in our heads over and over, hoping for a different ending.
Yeah, and the ending never changes. You just get more annoyed.
Exactly. You're stuck in a loop. Chris, do you think it's possible to forgive someone if they never actually say they're sorry?
Ooh, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? I think you have to, or you're basically letting them control your mood forever.
That's a very grounded way to look at it. It's about taking your power back.
Right, because if I'm waiting for an apology to be happy, then my happiness depends on them, and I don't like that one bit.
I struggle with that so much. I want the apology. I want the "I was wrong, Michelle, you were right" speech.
Of course you do. You want the trophy and the parade.
Maybe a small parade. But seriously, I had to realize that waiting for that was just keeping me stuck.
It's like waiting for a train at a station where the tracks have been removed.
That is such a vivid image, Chris.
I have my moments. But hey, I'm curious about our listeners. Have you ever had a moment where you finally let go of a small argument like my bagel drama or Michelle's emails and felt better immediately? Tell us about that one time you decided to just drop it.
I'd love to hear those stories. It's usually the small things that show us how much energy we're wasting.
Speaking of wasting energy, do you think people confuse forgiveness with just being a doormat?
Oh, absolutely. People think forgiveness means saying, it's okay that you hurt me, but it's actually saying, I'm not going to let what you did hurt me anymore.
So it's more about the future than the past.
I think so. It's about clearing the space so you can actually breathe.
It's funny because whenever I finally do forgive someone, even for something big, it feels totally cathartic.
That's a powerful word. It really describes that intense release of tension.
Yeah, it's like that feeling when you finally finish a huge project or a long run. You just feel empty in a good way.
Something is cathartic when it provides a psychological relief through the open expression of strong emotions, like a good cry or a long talk.
I usually go for the long talk, or a very long nap.
Naps are great, but they don't always solve the bitterness in your heart, Chris.
True. I guess a nap won't fix my soul, but it helps the mood.
You know, I once read that forgiveness is like a muscle. You have to exercise it on the small stuff so you're strong enough for the big stuff.
That makes sense. If I can't forgive the guy who cut me off in traffic, I'm probably not going to forgive a friend who betrays me.
Exactly. It's about the habit of letting go.
But some people really hold on to it like it's their job. I have an uncle who still won't talk to his brother over a lawnmower from 1992.
1992, Chris? That is 34 years of holding on to a lawnmower.
Right? The lawnmower is probably in a landfill somewhere, but the anger is still brand new.
That is a perfect example of how the object of the hurt disappears, but the feeling stays.
It's honestly kind of sad. They've both missed so many family dinners because of a machine that probably didn't even work that well.
It really is. It's like they've reached a stalemate and neither one wants to be the first to move.
A what?
To reach a stalemate, it's a situation where no further progress is possible because both sides are refusing to change their position.
Like in chess.
Exactly. In life, it happens when two people are both waiting for the other to apologize first.
And since nobody moves, nobody wins.
And everybody loses the relationship.
I think I've been in a stalemate with my gym membership for about 6 months now.
That's not a stalemate, Chris. That's just procrastination.
Hey, I'm processing my relationship with the treadmill.
Of course you are. But back to the serious side, I think the most unexpected part of forgiveness is forgiving yourself.
Whoa, okay, I didn't see that coming. Explain that one to me.
Well, we talk about others, but sometimes we carry so much guilt for things we did, or even for staying in a bad situation too long.
Oh, wow, yeah. Like being mad at yourself for allowing someone to treat you badly?
Exactly. We get angry at our past selves for not being smarter or stronger.
I do that all the time. I look back at my 20s and just shake my head.
But if you can't forgive that younger version of you, you're carrying a double burden.
So you're holding a grudge against yourself? That sounds like a lot of work.
It's the heaviest grudge there is.
So how do you forgive young Chris? Because he was kind of a mess.
You have to realize that you were doing the best you could with the tools you had at the time.
I think my only tools back then were pizza and video games, but I hear you.
But see, even just laughing about it is a way of letting go.
It does feel like a weight off your shoulders when you stop being your own worst critic.
That's exactly what it is. An idiom we use to describe the feeling of relief when a burden or a worry is finally gone.
It's like taking off a heavy backpack after a 10-mile hike.
Yes, and suddenly you can walk faster, you can see the view, everything changes.
I think a lot of people are looking for closure, too. You know that sense that a chapter is finally over?
Closure is such a tricky one. People think it comes from a conversation with the person who hurt them.
But it usually doesn't, does it?
Rarely. Usually, closure is something you give to yourself. It's the act of closing the book, even if the last chapter was messy.
To me, it means I can finally stop checking their social media to see if they're suffering as much as I am.
Oh, we've all been there. But that's the bitterness talking again.
It's true. Bitterness is like drinking vinegar and expecting the other person to get a stomach ache.
That is a classic saying for a reason. It's a sharp, unhappy feeling that comes from thinking you've been treated badly for a long time.
It's the opposite of being sweet, I guess.
Definitely. It hardens you. And when you're hard, you're more likely to break.
Man, Michelle, you're getting deep today. I'm just over here trying to figure out how to forgive the guy who took my parking spot this morning.
Start small, Chris. Forgive the parking spot guy, and maybe next week you'll be ready for the big stuff.
I'll try, but if he does it again tomorrow, all bets are off.
One step at a time, Chris. One step at a time. It's funny how we often feel like forgiveness is a gift we give to someone else, like we're letting them get away with something.
Right. Like they're out there living their best life while I'm being generous by not being mad. It feels unfair.
But it's actually the most selfish thing you can do. In a good way. You're doing it for your own peace of mind.
So it's like cleaning your own house instead of waiting for the person who made the mess to come back with a vacuum.
Exactly. Why would you want to live in a mess just to prove a point?
When you put it that way, it makes me feel kind of silly for holding on to things for so long.
Don't feel silly. It's human nature to want justice. We want things to be balanced.
Yeah, the eye for an eye thing is a very strong impulse.
It really is, but like the saying goes, that just leaves everyone blind.
And bumping into furniture.
Exactly. I've noticed that when I finally let go of something, my creativity actually goes up.
Really? Why do you think that is?
I think it's because anger takes up a lot of bandwidth in the brain. It's like having a bunch of apps running in the background of your phone.
Oh, I get that. My brain is definitely an old phone with way too many apps open.
Once you close the anger app, you have all this extra energy for things you actually care about.
That's a great motivation. Forgive people so you can be more creative. I like it.
It's worked for me. I usually find that my best ideas come after I've had a big moment of letting go.
I usually just find that I sleep better, which honestly is also a win.
A huge win. Sleep is the ultimate indicator of peace.
You know, it's interesting how we've been talking about this as a way to find more room for our own goals and peace. It reminds me of how often we get stuck in the past instead of looking at what's right in front of us.
It's so true. We spend so much time looking in the rearview mirror that we miss the beautiful view out the windshield.
And if you're always looking back, you're definitely going to crash into something eventually.
Metaphorically and literally.
Let's shift gears for a second and think about some of the ways we talked about these feelings, because I feel like we used some really expressive terms today that deserve another look.
I was just thinking the same thing. It's funny how some words just perfectly capture a feeling that's otherwise hard to describe. Like when you mentioned how it's a total weight off your shoulders to finally stop criticizing yourself.
Yeah, it's such a physical way to describe a mental feeling. I use that one all the time when I finish a big task, but applying it to forgiveness makes so much sense. It's like you've been carrying around this invisible stone, and you finally just drop it on the ground.
It's such a relief, and usually it happens after something cathartic occurs. You know, we use that word to talk about those big emotional releases. It's not just feeling better, it's that specific feeling of being cleansed after you let a big emotion out, like finally telling someone how they hurt you without being mean about it, just being honest.
Right, it's that phew moment. But before you get to that point, a lot of people tend to dwell on the situation. I do this constantly. I'll replay an argument in my head while I'm brushing my teeth, while I'm driving, even while I'm trying to watch a movie. I'm just stuck in that one moment from the past.
We all do it. To dwell on something is to stay in that mental space for way too long. It's the opposite of moving forward, and that often leads to people being able to hold a grudge for years. It's like you're actively keeping that anger alive, making sure it doesn't die out, which is so much work.
It is work. It's like being the guardian of a very grumpy fire. And if you do that for too long, it turns into resentment, that slow-burning, deep-seated anger where you just feel like life has been unfair to you. It's less sharp than regular anger, but it's much heavier.
That's a great way to put it. Resentment feels like it's part of your personality after a while. And if both people in an argument feel that way, they usually reach a stalemate. Nobody wants to be the one to say, I'm sorry, or let's move on, because they feel like they'd be losing.
Yeah, and then nobody talks, and 20 years later, you're still mad about a bagel or a lawnmower. It's such a waste of time when you realize that all you really wanted was closure, that feeling that the situation is settled and you don't have to think about it anymore. You just want the story to have an ending.
Exactly. And without that ending, you can fall into bitterness. You start looking at the whole world through a dark lens, and you can't even be happy for other people because you're so focused on your own old wounds. It's a tough way to live, but letting it go changes everything.
It really does. It's like you finally decided to stop living in the past and actually start showing up for your own life again.
Which makes me wonder if you're actually making space for the things that matter, like whether you're living your dreams or just living in your memories.
Always a deep thought to end on.
Catch you later.